So right now we're going to be talking to Ron Hansen of Arizona. Ron's a national political reporter for Arizona Central and hosts The Gaggle, which is an Arizona politics podcast. And we're going to find out what's going on with him as soon. Oh, wait, I see him. There he is. Isn't that him? Mm-hmm. Okay, right there. Okay, let's see if we get Ron. Adriana, say hi to everyone. This is who is always helping me with my Instagram lives. Hey, Ron.
Hey, good morning, Katie.
Thank you so much for taking a couple of minutes to talk to us about the state of Arizona. What's happening there? Is Mark Kelly going to pull it out?
It's going to be close. Republicans certainly see a path for victory for all their major candidates as we get underway with continued counting here on Wednesday morning.
You're saying Republicans do?
Republicans do. This is still a very tight race. And just to help your viewers understand, in Arizona, what we do is we have a lot of early ballots that come in during the 4 weeks before Election Day. That stream of votes runs very democratic. The votes that are turned in on Election Day, those tend to run very Republican. And that's what we have seen in this race as well. And what that means is that Blake Masters has gone from losing by about 20 points to Mark Kelly during the early voting period to now winning by about 38 points in the Election Day votes. Now, there's not as many of them, but there's still enough overall that it could tip the race, Republicans think. Overall, Kelly still holds a lead. It's about 5 percentage points, and we still are trying to determine how many votes remain to be counted. One other joker in the deck is that there's a libertarian on the ballot who dropped out of the race a week ago. He asked his supporters to vote for Blake Masters, but he is still pulling in thousands of votes. So if this race does come down to the final votes, it certainly will be advantageous for Mark Kelly that the libertarian peeled off about 37,000 votes so far.
Oh, interesting. So do you think there's a chance of a runoff?
We don't have that. It's going to be winner is whoever emerges with the most votes. So it is not clear that we're going to have any kind of suspense down to the absolute final votes. But whatever it is, whether it's a plurality or an absolute majority, the winner with the most votes will be named to the Senate.
And what about Kari Lake? Let's talk about the gubernatorial race. She is one of the most vocal and charismatic election deniers, running against Secretary of State Katie Hobbs. What is happening there?
This is the same kind of pattern. Again, the Republican votes that were very heavy came in on Election Day, and the gap that Kari Lake saw last night has closed substantially. She's still trailing, but that race is much closer already, and there remains certainly enough votes for that race to flip for Kari Lake to take the lead. And I think that Katie Hobbs knows that they need to be able to do better with the Election Day votes or with some of the other votes that remains, what we call late earlies. These are early ballots that were physically dropped off on Tuesday.
So when do you think we'll know, Ron, the results, the final results at the Arizona elections?
You know, one Republican that I was in touch with this morning was estimating Friday afternoon. And it's possible that at least some of these races, like the governor's race, with the Republican sort of positioned to surge ahead with more Republican-leaning ballots to come, that race could get called sooner. But the Senate race, where we still see Mark Kelly in the lead, that one will certainly go at least another day or so, depending on the pace of ballot counting.
Interesting. And can you tell us about the kind of the I don't know how to even describe it. What happened in Maricopa County with one of the I guess election ballot boxes or whatever that created a slight brouhaha on Election Day?
Yeah, so I would characterize it as more than a slight brouhaha. As everybody can remember, 2020 was obviously a very controversial outcome here in Arizona, especially in Maricopa County. That is the population center of the state. Joe Biden won. It was his narrowest victory in the country. A lot of Republicans refused to accept that and claimed that the election was stolen. What we saw on Tuesday was Republicans who showed up to vote in person, as Donald Trump had essentially instructed them to do, was they were finding that their votes were not being properly tabulated by the tabulation machines. The ballots were not spoiled, and the ballots were still able to be counted later, according to the county's election officials. No one was disenfranchised, according to the county, to this point, but it didn't stop Republicans from filing a lawsuit and claiming that the election was already suspicious. Some people, like Blake Masters in the U.S. Senate race, was already intimating that there is some sort of fraud or conspiracy against Republicans afoot. That, like the 2020 election claims, seems to be completely baseless. And it's worth noting that the elections in Maricopa County are overseen and run by Republicans.
What do you think, Ron? I'm just on a personal note, as somebody who's been an observer of Arizona politics for a long time, about the Carrie Lakes of the world and other people saying they're not going to recognize the result of the election, claiming that the 2020 election was rigged. You know, why are people tolerating that in the state of Arizona?
You know, it's a really good question, Katie. I wish I had a great answer for you, but I just don't. I think, in short, it's tolerated here, that people on the right never wanted to accept that Donald Trump didn't win in Arizona. And that was something that was not punished politically. It was not, there was no good example set by any of the elected officials in the congressional delegation on the Republican side, for example. It's just something that has been allowed to linger.
And wasn't there, Ron, and this will be my last question, I'll let you go, but wasn't there an investigation that actually indicated that, if anything, there were more votes for Joe Biden than indicated with the final tally for Joe Biden?
Yeah, that's right. You got it right, Katie. The state Senate in 2021 ordered a hand recount of all the ballots in Maricopa County. Again, this is the state's population center. And when they did that, they picked a Republican-leaning firm that had no experience in doing these kinds of matters. It was tainted top to bottom with partisanship. And at the end of the day, when they finally finished their count, which ran almost 9 months from start to when it was fully done, at the end of the day, these amateurs concluded that Joe Biden actually picked up a few extra votes. So that also did not control the day, because they included a report that said, well, we can't identify specific problems, but we know there are all these thousands of ballots that are questionable. And this is what I mean about Republicans hanging on to doubt for doubt's sake.
Well, it's very, very disconcerting to hear that, and to hear that despite the fact that, what was it, Ron, 21 courts heard lawsuits, and basically all of them determined there was not election fraud committed, and yet people just don't seem to listen to results. Well, I'm going to talk to my friend Tony about Texas now, but Ron, it's such a pleasure to meet you. Thank you so much for giving some insights, and let us know, you know, what's going on in Arizona if you can, and we'll keep up with it. But I really appreciate your time, Ron.
Thanks. Happy to do it, Katie. Take care.
Okay. Take care. Bye.